There you go. All right. So stand for the pledge. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening. I'm glad everyone can make it to the Thursday, April 3rd, 2025 Springfield Municipal Regional Planning Commission meeting. Marla, would you please call the roll?
Baggett.
Here.
Bibb.
Here.
Boyd.
Here.
Briggs. Gray.
Here.
Moreland.
Here.
Schott.
Here.
Thomas.
Here.
And Townsend. We have 7 present. There is a quorum.
Item 1.3, approve the minutes from the regular Planning Commission meeting held on March 6th, 2025. We have a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Item 1.4, approve of the December 2024
Take
planning.
motion,
We need to vote on it, don't we?
vote on.
Yeah, we need to vote on
Okay.
item 1.3.
Normally vote on the minutes
Yeah.
to be accepted.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Okay,
That's my fault.
My fault.
Do they have to be a roll call vote, though? Can it be a voice vote?
I think it's.
It's allowed to have a voice vote.
Yes.
So call for.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. And item 1.4, approval of minutes from the December 2024 Planning Commission meeting with corrections. Have a motion.
So moved.
So moved.
Do we,
Second.
do we have what those corrections were?
We left out, we completely left out 2.1.
Okay.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, it jumped straight from the roll call to 2.2 and I
Okay.
Okay.
Anybody opposed to the, have a, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Item 1.5, public comment period. Do we have anyone registered to speak?
Jeff Price was registered.
Okay, I believe Mr. Price is here. Item 1.6, public hearing. Okay. 2.0, under new business. Item 2.1, discuss and possibly take action on an annexation, plan of service, and zoning request for a property located between Highway 41 and William Batson Parkway beside Springfield Funeral Home, Memorial Gardens, and Cremation Center. Ms. Durham?
Good evening, Commissioners. The request before you this evening, let me go ahead and switch that. The request before you this evening includes a recommendation for annexation, plan of service, and zoning for property located within Robertson County Tax Map 103, specifically parcel 9.01. The site is adjacent to the eastern property line of the Springfield Funeral Home, Gardens, and Cremation Center, rectangularly shaped. It encompasses approximately 11 acres between US Highway 41 and William Batson Parkway. It's a little hard to see, but it is the property on the left. There's a power easement that runs through it, but it's just south of where that site is indicated. The southern portion of the property, the approximate 6.6 acres fronting William Batson Parkway, lies outside of the Springfield city limits, but it is within the urban growth boundary. The northern half, which is approximately 4.3 acres, is already within the city limits and is currently zoned agricultural. This breakdown is visually represented on the slide before you. So on the left, we have the back portion that's outside the city limits, and on the right, the front portion that is within the city limits currently. Upon acceptance of this land for annexation, the applicant has requested that the entire parcel be zoned multi-residential and office district, otherwise known as MRO. While a conceptual plan has not yet been shared with city staff, the applicant has stated an intent to build new housing on the property. The Springfield 2044 Comprehensive Plan for Growth indicates the area is appropriate for mixed use As such, the applicant's request for a zoning designation of MRO is in alignment with the community's vision for the area. Because the area is within the urban growth boundary, the plan of service has been agreed upon by the applicant, and everybody in the city has worked together to create that for that applicant. The zoning request is consistent with the comprehensive plan. Staff recommends approval of the request before you. Thank you for your time and consideration. I'm happy to answer any questions you might have. Additionally, the applicant, Mr. John Warner, is also here this evening to answer any questions you might have that he would be better suited to address.
Can you go back to the previous slide?
Sure.
So what's that V shape? It kind of looks like a V shape, and it says not in city. That's,
All of this within this, this black line here is outside of the city limits.
okay,
So this hatched area right here is the portion of the parcel being requested for annexation. This hatched area here is the portion that's already within the city limits.
okay,
So
so,
it's just this parcel right here.
okay,
But all of this is just kind of an island of what is still outside the city limits in that
Okay.
area.
thank you.
There's really not very much in that area that's outside still.
Any other questions? Do you have a motion for
Take a motion.
second?
Second.
You have Mr. Baggett and Bob ready for a vote.
Thomas,
Yes.
Boyd,
Yes.
Bibb,
Yes.
Shot,
Yes.
Baggett,
Yes.
Gregg,
Yes.
Orland,
Yes,
passes 6-7.
Item 3.0 under old and other business, the April BZA meeting has been canceled due to no agenda items.
And then I do have a couple other things I just kind of wanted to share.
Okay.
In this past month since we've met, there have been 3 things that have been approved. Well, there's been 2 things that have been approved that are worth sharing. The site plan at Gupton Motors, which is, let me read what I wrote. It's located on Tom Austin Highway, just north of the intersection of South Main. It's being developed as a car dealership and includes an approximate 2,200 square foot building with 22,000, yes, sorry, thank you, 22,000 square foot building with 252 parking spaces and a couple of EV charging stations. That site is currently under construction, so it's on Tom Austin. We recently approved a final plat at 812 Pitt Avenue. That was done to just combine a couple of parcels. The applicant intends to, they've actually already submitted, to build a duplex on that property. And then we had a March BZA meeting where we approved a variance to allow 0 lot line for a building that had been destroyed by the December 23 tornadoes. It was a unique platting situation that to rebuild, he needed to build back in phases to make it work between him and the partner property owner. So the BZA approved that. Blackwood Farms should be coming back to you at the next meeting. They have nearly completed construction plans. They've got a preliminary plat that's being reviewed right now. What I wanted to know from this commission is, do you need to see their HOA, or are you comfortable with staff reviewing it, assuming there's been incorporation of similar language that's been used in other HOA documents recently?
I'd like to see it.
See,
You'd like to see it? Okay, I will make sure they know, and I will get that to you before that meeting. Also coming before you next month is a final plat for Phase 1 of, it was previously known as Highland Estates. It is now being referred to as Highland Reserve. Phase 1 is just going to be, it's on the eastern portion of the project, and it is the completion of Curtiswood Lane and Walnut Grove Road. So it's just completing 2 cul-de-sacs and will include 15 homes.
That's Mr. Moore's property, correct?
Yes, it is. And then finally, staff is currently reviewing the site plan for the wastewater treatment plant. We've looked at it, we've given a few comments back to the engineer, but that plan is pretty much done with in terms of what we're doing with it. Finally, the last thing on there, the development tracker. We've been, Sean Feltzer's been working on creating a development tracker for the city that it's just going to be an interactive user platform that will be posted on the website that allows the community, it allows anybody who comes to the website an opportunity to review what's under review by city staff, what's under construction, what's been recently approved, so that maybe there'll be a little bit less confusion about what's going on. And they'll have more access to what's kind of happening within the city, so. And then there's not going to be a BZA meeting this month, that was already stated. And then finally, at the conclusion of next month's meeting, I'm going to ask that we stay back for a few minutes to complete a safety training. It should only take 15 minutes maximum, but that will be at the end of next month's meeting.
Perfect. Thank you. So I have a motion to adjourn.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
The Blackwood Farms piece, what made me think of it. Is there anything in the city codes that would require a piece of property to state something that is especially on a major thoroughfare such as this property, to keep it mowed, keep it maintained? I mean, all year last year, that piece of property looks about as bad as any piece of property inside the city of Springfield. And all they had to do was hire some guy with a 15-foot bush hog to go out there and clip it at least once or twice. And now it's all, and it just grew up and looks terrible, and it's going right through the middle where the city has their parks and recreation, and even wintertime, when they drove through there to see the Christmas lights, everybody looked over there and it looked like a dungeon. And I know Mr. Roger Blackwood well enough to know, I'm surprised he didn't make somebody do it, just because it's his reputation on the line, still got his name attached to it.
That's right.
But is there any teeth in the city code that could require them to maintain it to a presentable level because it's inside the city?
Yes and no. And I'll tell you what the municipal code says, what it requires, and what it's been interpreted not to require. Residential lots have to have their yards mowed to 12 inches. Okay, and so we do enforce that regularly when we get complaints on those things. I was afraid it was going to get enforced on me if I didn't mow this week, especially all the spring, but that has not been interpreted by the city attorney to apply to undeveloped property. That has been interpreted to encompass residential lots. We had this issue come up in Oakland Farms or Saddlebrook, whichever end of it was. I think it was the Saddlebrook end of it. Is that right? And where the subdivision actually ends, there's undeveloped property that is kind of with the subdivision.
But it's platted property.
But
Was it not platted as well?
I don't think so.
There's a preliminary plat, but there's not final plats and recorded lots. And that's where we're at with Blackwood. It's not
Same shape.
recorded lots yet.
Because it does look terrible.
Is there something that you could bring back to the municipal code that we could look at?
It would be, the Board of Mayor and Alderman, it would be a change that the Board of Mayor and Alderman could make. It came up when it came up, there was not a movement last year to do anything with the Alderman that had raised it. But if the Planning Commission, if the Planning Commission would like for us to bring that to the Board of Mayor and Alderman for discussion, we'll be glad to do it. They tickle to death.
I think it's something that needs to be
Teeth
done.
into it if we're gonna do it. I mean, if they're gonna develop it, they ought to be willing to maintain it to a presentable level that's not gonna be a bad reflection on what the city, stands for.
I think and I agree, I think the issue that was raised, and I don't mean to speak for the city attorney, she's not here, but the issue that was raised, I was relating my conversation with her, the issue that, from what I recall, was raised by her is, you drive down Memorial Boulevard, and there's some property on Memorial Boulevard that has never been developed. And it's filled with trees, filled with brush and bushes, so we would have to go and enforce a 12-inch grass height, or somebody weed around all of those trees, because it would apply to all, it either applies to all or it applies to nothing, right? And so if we're going to apply it to undeveloped property, we need to make sure that we know what that encompasses. Because there's property that's still untouched, on South Main, for instance. I mean, we're talking about, I think there's an exemption in the municipal code for property that's being used for agriculture purposes, and that's the only exemption. So if we went down South Main and property that hasn't been developed, it's not being used for agriculture, it's grown up, somebody's got to go clear it out and keep it to 12-inch grass height.
I would have loved to have seen it still in the agricultural side, because it looked a lot better then than it does.
Absolutely.
Than it did. But I just think it's a shame that we can't the city doesn't have the ability to enforce something, especially in a location that is so prevalent as that. I mean, you know, the drainage ditches and things like that, that's a no-brainer, but something that, especially under consideration for residential development, it should have, you know, if nothing else, it could be a friendly phone call from codes department, say, hey, you know, we really would love to see you guys, you know, get it mowed once, just because it's a reflection on who we are.
We agree, especially with Blackwood property, that property used to be beautiful, that was a beautiful drive going through there, and so doesn't look.
It never hurts to ask.
Right.
They're gonna be coming back before the city for a lot of requests, and I would think that it would behoove them to want to be as good a neighbor on the front end as it would be on the back end.
And we've used that. I mean, the last time this came up was we had a lot of complaints about a piece of property, I think behind Stonegate, that was undeveloped. And I think what the property owner went in and did, because there were some complaints about mosquitoes, and the property had not been developed in any, you know, there was no recorded record of the property being developed. And so what the property owner, I think, ended up doing as a compromise to make the Stonegate folks happy is go in and create a 30-foot buffer and mow down a 30-foot barrier. But that was it came up in open farm. It's come up on Blackwood, but by the time Blackwood came along, we already had the legal answer on the other two, and so we knew there was not much we can ask.
Never hurts to ask.
I have a question about that. So what is the difference between, let's say, this project, forgive me for lack of a better word, but it's already named, right, the Blackwood development, and you mentioned, let's say, there's all these different properties on Memorial that aren't developed. What makes them the same or what makes them different? Because this project, what I'm saying is, we're seeing this project coming in and we're seeing work on it. It could be just someone's piece of land. So are we saying those properties on Memorial were at some point presented to be future developments, or are they just people's land?
I think they're people's land.
Okay.
Just like the Blackwood. That's why I think they're the same.
Okay, so that's why you consider them the same. But this is a running project already that they're proposing to us, right? So wouldn't that be a difference where, let's say it's a project that kind of got put on hold? Is that how I understand Blackwood? It was put on hold for a little bit? I'm just thinking of that, like, or is that too gray or too muddy?
You need a legal trigger, basically.
Okay.
And I think what Mr. Brewer was, the point he was making was until there's a final plat and you have reported now you have residential lots. Right now, you just have a big undeveloped parcel, which is the same as the undeveloped parcels on the
Okay.
border, right? I think one that just got cleared was the property there at the corner of Memorial and Hillcrest. They just cleared that property, but that property is one that complaints have happened. Now, when the Rite Aid building was vacant, and they let that grass get, well, how we could enforce that, because that's developed property.
Okay.
We could enforce that, and get them to mow it. It's the undeveloped property that our city attorney didn't feel comfortable at the time with enforcing a grass height restriction, because it's not that someone's, it's in its natural state, I guess, right? It's not that they developed it and then just didn't take care of it. It's remaining in its natural state.
Any other questions for the city manager?
Thank you.
Thank you. Now, I agree 100%. Mr. Chairman, is this something that the planning commission would like for us to take?
I think so.
to later
I
on?
think it would be a wise ask of the board. I agree that it was a very pretty drive, and now it's
It was.
not so pretty. Have a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
So moved.